Okay. Welcome, everyone. I will now call to order the regular scheduled Apex Town Council meeting for Tuesday, February 11th, 2025. We're glad you're here. The rain is outside, but the sun is shining inside because your smiling faces are looking at me. So that's the best I can do. I'm sorry. So bear with me here. Before we get started with the business, we'll move right into invocation. And tonight, what we'd like to do is we can all use a moment of peace in Apex and beyond. So what I would like for you to do today, this evening rather, is join us in a moment of peace. So join me. Thank you. Thank you much. God bless you all. If you would, please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. If you're able, please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you so much. We'll move right into our consent agenda. The consent agenda is before my colleagues on council. There is a recommendation of the removal of consent number 1. Other than that, are there any other recommended changes? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda with that change?
Motion to approve with that
Mayor
change.
Pro Tem with
Second.
Audrey, aye. Killingsworth. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. We'll move now to updates by our amazing town manager, Randy Lossberg.
Thank you very much, Mayor. I've got a few things to update you on. The first I want to mention is, if you haven't heard, our Mason Street Municipal Building is closed. We're having a facility issue there. Out of an abundance of caution, there was an odor noticed in the building, and we wanted to make sure everything was good, so we're doing some tests. We've closed that building. Most likely it'll be through Friday, and we should get those test results back. Staff is either working in the field, working remote, or some have been relocated to different facilities around town as well. So work continues, but the building is still closed. Next, you may have noticed this as well. We're having our Beyond the Lot shuttle has been shut down for right now. We are having some staffing issues. It's kind of the perfect storm on our staffing of those shuttles. So we're currently recruiting. If anyone knows anyone who's interested in helping us operate that shuttle, we would appreciate it. But we will continue to monitor the website on that. We hope to get those shuttles up and running as soon as possible, but it is due to a staffing issue with that.
Is there any specific driver's license required?
Yes. I think, do we know, anybody in the room know if it's a special?
No.
Okay, no CDL or anything.
North Carolina driver's license.
All right.
And a positive demeanor.
Yes.
The next is a bit of good news. I've updated you in the past on the Vision Zero, but we are finally on the map. So you can go to it's visionzeronetwork.org, and we show up as one of 69 communities in the United States that are now accepted by the Vision Zero. We are the 3rd in North Carolina. So pretty prestigious for Apex to be in that group. Next item I have relates to an item that is going to be recommended for pulling later, but I wanted to go ahead and address it now on Tunstall House so I could give a little bit of background, and there may be more discussion later. But with Tunstall House, that item is recommended for removal from the agenda. We are going to put that out to rebid. There were some items we're working through and felt it was best to be able to give all the options to council through a rebid process. You could still proceed with full project as is, but it also then will give you the option to have smaller chunks of the project and phase it. So you can still make that decision, but we need to rebid in order for that decision to be there. And there were a couple other issues we're working through related to that. It will come back to you. It appears it would be about late summer at this point through that process. Next, I want to mention the housing plan update. That is underway. We started this week with our stakeholder focus group meetings. So that involves town staff, county staff, developers that are in the affordable housing community. Residents have been a part of that, and community organizations. So those have been kicked off, and we'll be concluding those over the next few weeks. That'll be the beginning process of our housing plan update. That'll eventually come before you as well, but we're kind of gathering that information through our stakeholders right now. And then the last item I have, you have it on your calendars, and Alan will get with you on this date change, but the street hockey event has changed, but it's changed for a good reason. It'll be, instead of the 22nd, it'll be the 29th of March. And they were able to work out to get some of the players from the Hurricanes there. So they'll have their practice that morning and then hopefully come over in the afternoon. So it'll be sometime afternoon, and Alan will put this on your calendars. But March 29th, the afternoon, it'll be a pretty big event with some of the hockey players here as well. So that's something exciting to look forward to. And I believe that is all I have for tonight.
Thank you so much. All right, we'll move now to setting of the regular meeting agenda. And I have a note here, of course, removal of new business 2. Other than that, I haven't received any other updates. With that, is there a motion to approve the agenda with that change?
Motion to approve with the change?
Mayor Pro Tem,
All second.
second. Zegerman, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oppose. All right, motion carries unanimously. All right, move to presentation number 1, Apex Public School Foundation Quarterly Peak Star Awards, second quarter. Councilmember Terry Mahaffey.
Thank you, Mayor. Welcome, everyone. Good evening. We're here tonight to award what we call the Peak Star Award. And this is, it stands for Staff, Teachers, Administration Recognition. It's something we've partnered with the Apex Public School Foundation to recognize some of the amazing work done in our public schools around Apex. And I view this, I look forward to this every quarter. It's an opportunity for us to both give recognition to some of the staff members and teachers who are helping educate our children and provide, the vital part of our community, and also learn about the great work that's been happening in our public schools. So I'm very happy to be here again. And at this point, I'd like to invite up President Barbara Conroy from the Apex Public School Foundation to tell us about the foundation and introduce us to our awardee for the evening.
Good evening, everyone.
evening.
Good to see you again. As you know, I'm Barb Conroy. I'm pleased to be representing the Apex Public School Foundation at tonight's meeting. Before I begin the Peak Star presentation, I wanted to share some information with you about our 2025 teacher grant recipients. As you know, the Apex Public School Foundation supports the 19 Wake County public schools with an Apex mailing address. We currently have 3 high schools, 5 middle schools, and 11 elementary schools that we serve here in Apex. Our primary program, the Teacher Grant Program, funds teacher proposals that promote student engagement through innovative and creative programming. Over the past few weeks, we have been awarding these grant recipients for this cycle. We have awarded over $25,000 to 9 Apex area schools funding 14 projects. Detailed information about all funded proposals can be found on our website, but a couple of highlights that I wanted to share. We've been funding coding and robotics enhancements at the elementary level. There was a Microbits and Hummingbirds Kits program at Laurel Park that we funded, as well as an Arduino circuit boards program at Bauckham Elementary. We've also been supporting programs for multilingual learners. These have been at Lufkin Road Middle School, Middle Creek High School, and Apex Middle School through providing technology and literature enhancements. Additionally, we've been providing flexible seating over the years. This year, we received a grant from Scotts Ridge Elementary asking for some flexible seating options to enhance elementary school learning. We also funded a super cool grant at Lufkin Road Middle School in the memory of Karen Cinders, our former principal at the school. This was the first time where the Karen Cinders Memorial Grant was granted to her own school, to Lufkin Road Middle School. That was for virtual reality to enhance the learning of biomedical literacy. And then we also funded a grant at Middle Creek High School, providing film, TV, and production students with cutting-edge Dolby Atmos equipment. Again, that's just a quick overview. We funded 14 grants, which is the why behind all the work that we do as a volunteer-driven organization in town. So super excited to share that great news with all of you. It has been an honor for us to be serving the Apex community. Our nonprofit has no paid staff. It is a volunteer-driven labor of love, but we need people. So as I'm here to present the award, I also am making an appeal. If you can help us get the word out, we need people who are not only willing to give their time, but to give their leadership capacity as well as we continue to grow and support our Apex area students, teachers, and school communities. So please help us get the word out. Thank you. But moving on to why I'm here, as Councilmember Mahaffey shared, the APSF, in addition to the Teacher Grant Program, strives to promote awareness of all the amazing things happening in our schools. One of the ways we do this is through a weekly social media shout out. that comes out every Tuesday across multiple platforms. Each quarter, we pull from those shout outs an incredible educator to be honored with the Peak Star. It is my pleasure to introduce this quarter's Peak Star recipient, Kuwana Britton from Apex High School. She is a health and occupations teacher, and her impact on the Cougar community includes growing the membership of the school's Health Occupations Students of America Club, encouraging students from diverse backgrounds to enter the medical field, offering an engaging summer camp for students, where she even made herself the guinea pig. She brought them to her chiropractor and allowed her chiropractor to adjust her in front of her students to help them better understand the breadth of what health occupations are. Another thing that she's done for the community is organizing a mental health fair. Principal Elaine Hoffman, who is here with us today, shared, "We are ecstatic Ms. Britton joined our CTE department in 2023. She truly gives her all for her students. Thank you for all you do, Ms. Britton. We appreciate you and congratulations for being recognized as a Peak Star."
Thank you.
And on behalf of the Apex Town Council, congratulations and thank you for everything you do for us.
Thank you.
These pictures?
The awkward dance. The awkward dance.
They don't have you to direct her, buddy.
Yeah, I know.
Good evening. Thank you so much for this incredible honor. I am truly grateful to the Apex Public School Foundation and the town of Apex for recognizing the work we do to support our students. I would also like to thank my peak administrators at Apex High for this nomination. At Apex, we are committed to empowering all students to reach their peak potential by helping them become prepared, engaged, ambitious, and kind. This award is not just a reflection of my efforts, but of the incredible community I am privileged to be a part of. Our dedicated staff, supportive families, and most importantly, our amazing students. This year, our core values remind us that we are Encore. Everyone needs community, opportunity, relationships, and engagement. These are the foundations that make Apex High such a special place, and I am proud to contribute to this mission every day. Thank you again for this recognition. It truly means the world to me.
Awesome. Congratulations, Ms. Britton. Thank you, Ms. Hoffman, for all you do as well. Thanks for being here. Councilman Haffey, thank you. All right, moving now to Presentation 2. It is a proclamation, National Engineering Week and Apex Engineering Day 2025, and we're going to present the proclamation together. So if you would, please join me out front for the reading.
Engineering Day and National Engineers Week 2025. Whereas National Engineers Week was founded in 1951 by the National Society of Professional Engineers to recognize the vital role engineers play in advancing society and creating the systems and technologies we rely on every day, and
Whereas the town of Apex is proud to employ 15 professional engineers and many other staff who participate in and support engineering tasks, who work ensures that the town provides safe drinking water, robust stormwater control, reliable electricity, and safe transportation infrastructure that keeps our community connected. And
whereas engineers perform their duties to an incredibly high professional and ethical standard, and the town is grateful to our engineers' dedication to their craft, attention to detail, and commitment to safety. And
Whereas the 2025 Engineers Week theme, Design Your Future, serves as a call to action and a celebration of the limitless possibilities in engineering, inviting us to dream boldly, innovate relentlessly, and build a future shaped by human ingenuity. And
Whereas the Forge Initiative, in partnership with the town of Apex, is proud to host Engineering Day on February 22nd, 2025 at the John M. Brown Community Center, which will explore the power of engineering through interactive demonstrations, hands-on design challenges, and mentorship from local engineers, encouraging curiosity and interest in STEM careers.
Now, therefore, I, Jacques K. Gilbert, Mayor of Apex, North Carolina, do hereby proclaim February 16th through February 22nd, 2025 as National Engineers Week and February 22nd, 2025 as Engineering Day in the town of Apex, and encourage residents to join in the celebrations of all that engineering has done and will continue to do. Signed on this 11th day of February 2025. And receiving the proclamation from the community, I want to invite up Linda Whipker. So if you would please join me. And you have some other engineers, young engineers here as well, right? Come on up. So I will allow you to actually present their names and we'll come right here and just
Stand on the side?
Absolutely.
Okay. I'd like to recognize Riva Patel, John V. Oh, wow. Okay. John V. We know her as John V. Parapatu. There we go. Sejal Solkin, Aubrey Fouts, and James Jones. And they are hosting and coordinating a lot of this day that's coming up next Saturday. Just briefly, the Forge Initiative is a nonprofit. We've been in the Cary Apex area since 2010. I was one of the original founders and currently the volunteer executive director. We count on volunteers for everything. We're having our Presidential Service Awards coming up, and we are recognizing 12 lifetime Presidential Award winners with over 4,000 volunteer hours in the past few years. So we have a lot of volunteers involved. And Sejal, do you want to just invite people to Engineering Day? Yeah.
Engineering Day is an annual event hosted by the Forge Initiative to celebrate National Engineers Week, bringing together engineers, students, families, and professionals to explore STEM through hands-on activities and demonstrations. The event showcases cutting-edge technology, robotics, and engineering innovations, providing an interactive space for learning and collaboration. Some activities include laser cut keychains, 3D print keychains, showcasing robots, sumo bots, and space schlepping. Engineering Day fosters inspiration, skill development, and a deeper understanding of the impact of STEM in our world. We invite you to come on February 22nd from 2 to 5 p.m. at Apex Community Center to participate in Engineering Day. The tickets are sold on our website, theforgeinitiative.org, and linked on our social media at The Forge Initiative.
Great.
Oh, yep, don't go. The staff's on it too.
We got to recognize our wonderful staff. Marty Stone, of course. Chris Johnson, Russell Dalton, and Jonathan Jacobs. Did I get everybody? All right.
No, I would just like to say that I think the town of Apex is very lucky with the engineering staff that we have. We have a fantastic staff. I don't actually practice engineering every day, but I get to work with the engineers that we have and oversee a lot of their work, and we really have a fantastic staff, and we're lucky to have them. So I just appreciate all they do, and we'll recognize them.
All right, thank you so much for that. And I was reminded by another engineer in the community, Jeff Roach. Yeah, thank you for your service too, and all the other engineers in the community.
Wondering
So thank
about
you.
him.
Yeah, exactly. I also want to recognize Apex Teen Council for being here today. Ellison Lambert, thank you for your leadership with them. Okay, we're moving on now to presentation 3, Wake Transit Plan Update. Presented tonight by Benjamin Howell and Katie Swing. Thank you so much.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. So I'm Ben Howell. I'm the Wake Transit Program Manager for CAMPO, which is the Regional Transportation Planning Organization. And here to just give you a brief update on our transit plan update that we've been going through for about a year now, and the recently completed phase 2 of our public engagement. As you can see on the screen there, I'll give a brief overview of the state of the plan, where we've started and where we are so far. Discuss the market analysis that has been done that includes, we did a market analysis for every town in Wake County, including Apex. Review the public engagement phase we just concluded, and then provide the next steps. So as you hopefully know, Wake Transit Plan is a revenue stream for public transit investment that was approved by voters in 2016. The referendum was approved by voters in 2016, and the plan was approved just before that in order to provide the voters information about what they were approving when they approved the funding. And then we have, the Wake Transit Plan itself has started funding transit service in August 2017, immediately adding service on the weekends and evenings and more frequency on the routes. We update the Wake Transit Plan every 4 years to, again, review the community and stakeholder preferences and priorities, as well as update the financial and technical data about the performance and outcomes. The transit plan is based around 4 big moves: connect regionally, connect all Wake County communities, create frequent, reliable urban mobility, and enhance access to transit. And within each of those 4 big moves, we have some projects and identified that fall under those big moves. For example, connect regionally, traditionally we've had the commuter rail project, as well as expanding more regional bus service. Under Connect All Wake County Communities, we focused on adding more connections to Raleigh, Cary, and RTP, and adding more town-to-town bus service and providing funding to towns for creating transit service on their own. Creating frequent, reliable urban mobility, we focused on adding bus infrastructure, adding frequency and span, not by adding night and weekend service, primarily around the Raleigh area. And then under enhanced access to transit, we've looked at improving amenities of bus stops, making sidewalks, crosswalks, and bike lanes, and connecting those to sidewalks, and also expanding the on-demand transit program. The Wake Transit Plan revenues have been strong, and they continue to be strong. We've raised nearly $750 million to date since 2017, and we expect to raise another $700 million to $1 billion over the next 10 years. And so back in the spring, we went out to the public and asked them what their transit priorities are for the next 10 years. We provided information about how we've our investments to date. As you can see, a majority of our investments to date have been in more transit service and vehicles. We have invested quite a bit in purchasing new transit vehicles for the operators, and many of those have been clean fuel vehicles. we expect to spend approximately $350 million in the next few years, finishing up the New Bern Bus Rapid Transit Corridor, which we are hoping will go under construction this year. We're hoping to complete design and begin construction on the Southern Corridor Bus Rapid Transit, which goes from downtown Raleigh down to Garner. Completing design and entering construction on the Western Corridor Bus Rapid Transit, which would go from downtown Raleigh to Cary. Completing construction on the Go Raleigh, Go Wake Access ADA Maintenance Facility and Call Center, beginning construction on the Cary Multimodal Center, and completing construction on the Raleigh Union Station Bus Facility. So for the market analysis, we looked at all the communities in Wake County, and we have some key findings, and you should have received the market analysis as an attachment to your agenda. I believe I sent it to Katie, and so hopefully you've had a chance to read it and look at it. But one of the key findings, of course, is that Apex is a sub-regional hub in Southwest Wake County. And so with that, we also went through and looked at each community and provided several pages. So one, we provide an overview showing the existing bus service in the community and discussing the different routes that are available. Then we also provide some key statistics. So again, showing here, Apex has a higher density than Wake County on average, a lower employment density than Wake County on average, lower number of zero vehicle households than Wake County on average, but a higher median household income than Wake County on average. And you can see there the population growth from 2016 to 2022 is 49%, while the employment growth is about 18%. And all this data was collected by our consultants from the Census Bureau and the State Demographer's Office. Finally, we also looked at development in each area to help us determine where the propensity and need for transit is greatest. So what we just completed was our phase 2 engagement, and the goals of this engagement period were really to share information on the planned investments in rail between FY26 and 35. As you all probably know, there's been a lot of discussion about commuter rail, and commuter rail has been in the plan since the beginning. We've done a lot of studies and a lot of working on that, and have really determined that the commuter rail is too expensive and will take too long to implement at this time. And so what we're proposing with this plan update is instead to leverage other investments in the existing rail service in Wake County that's primarily operated by Amtrak to improve the regional rail and intercity rail that's already there. Again, we're not closing the door completely to commuter rail. We may revisit that in the future, but for the next 10 years of this Wake Transit Plan, we're really looking at this regional rail idea. We also wanted to discuss this concept of using bus rapid transit to connect Raleigh and Durham. With the removal of the commuter rail, we want to provide some other way to address that travel market, and so we're proposing a bus rapid transit corridor, likely along I-40, to serve that travel market. And then we also wanted to ask the public what projects they wanted to see completed first. Not an either-or situation, but really what should we work on first? Should we work on investing in service frequency or serving more people first? Or should we work on serving more places, investing in the regional connections and infrastructure first? Serving more places is a little bit more infrastructure and capital heavy. Serving more people would be getting service on the road a little bit quicker. And again, the feedback is shaping the direction for the next 10-year investment strategy for the Wake Transit Plan. So we had a robust engagement strategy. We we worked on online distribution. We had over 20 pop-up events throughout Wake County. We had 6 focus groups, and then we've done several presentations around Wake County, including this one tonight. And finally, wanted to give a brief overview of the timeline. So we started planning for the period of engagement back in October. The engagement phase launched December 2nd. So for the first couple weeks of December, we held some focus groups and did some pop-ups. And then we took a little break during the holidays where we focused on online engagement and social media. And then beginning back in January, we held some more pop-ups, held some more focus groups, and began doing these presentations. So what we took to the public were the next 4 slides, and are essentially the boards and the main information we presented to the public. So this is the board that we really presented about the rail service, trying to bring the public up to speed and bring them along with us to show that while commuter rail may not be feasible, we have rail service in Wake County now that serves a lot of the same areas that commuter rail would serve. And there's a lot of rail projects planned, including the new S-Line investments up to Wake Forest and hopefully maybe in the future down here towards Apex. And so what we're talking about doing with rail investment in the Wake Transit Plan is really investing in those existing services and those planned services, whether that's through providing funding for additional trips, train trips, or improving infrastructure that will improve the frequency and reliability of the train. And we are bringing in that S corridor into the Wake Transit Plan so that can be included in some of these investments. We then presented some information about the proposed bus rapid transit along I-40. The proposal is that we would really be running buses that would primarily run along the shoulders, but we would guarantee 15-minute service every day, all day, making it easier to travel between Raleigh and Durham. And we provided a comparison here between express bus service and BRT. We do believe we can get BRT in place and operating before 2035, which is why we're proposing that. And then we asked the public, is this a travel market that's important? And then do you think BRT is a good idea? And then finally, we talked about the 2 options of serving more people versus serving more places. And then we also provided, here's what we've been doing, here's what we're continuing to do, again, focused under those 4 big moves. Again, improving the frequent network, completing the 4 BRT corridors that we have, plus the 2 extensions, adding additional BRT corridors, adding more frequent service, and improving and adding more service between and throughout the county to outlying towns. We also provided some educational information. So for those that aren't aware, bus rapid transit generally is in dedicated lanes, have dedicated stations, traffic signal priority, frequency, off-board fare collection, and branding. We currently have 4 primary corridors, and then 2 extensions off of those. And then with the moving into what we will hope to see in the draft plan that'll come out in the next couple of months, we expect to see another 1 to 2 corridors added to that, including that I-40 corridor, as well as some additional studies for future bus rapid transit corridors. We also will continue to invest in frequency and span. Our goal is to have most of our network running all day, which we define as at least 17 hours a day. So by 2030, we're expecting to have 14 frequent bus routes and 122 miles of frequent service. I can say already we're closing in on 100 miles today. So we're already well towards our goal. We're also proposing to provide funding for construction of mobility hubs throughout the county. These are areas where people can find and transfer to different types of transportation, including car share, bike share, bus, Uber, Lyft, taxi, or train, even if it's available. It's an opportunity where local services can connect with regional services, and again, it'll vary by location. 2 examples of that are the Raleigh Union Station bus facility, which should be completed this year and open later in 2025, and the Triangle Mobility Hub, which we're expecting to open by 2030. I will say, because it came up in another location, this is just a broad example of what a mobility hub could be. It could look like anything. So I will say, just don't take the picture on the screen as a gospel for what the mobility hub could be. It could be a building, it could be something as grand as the Raleigh Union Station bus facility, or it could be as simple as what you see on the screen. And then again, we talked about commuter rail and the fact that while the commuter rail has been proposed and identified in the Wake Transit Plan, we have feasibility studies that just show it's too expensive and will take too long to implement. Current best guess, if we continue to fund it today, we would still be almost at 2040 before we could actually get it open to service. So instead, we're going to focus on funding regional or intercity passenger rail that hopefully with Wake Transit funding, we can improve the reliability of that and also increase train frequency. We also talk about improving infrastructure and access. We have invested and will continue to invest in infrastructure. We have purchased and retrofitted over 180 buses to date. We've improved numerous bus stops and transit centers. A lot of the bus purchases have been clean fuel vehicles, and we have leveraged, to date, we've leveraged approximately $30 million in Wake Transit funds to get over $133 million in federal funds. We expect to continue to do that. And then also too, we're investing in safe access to transit with the bus stops by providing funding to for crosswalks, ADA accessibility, and connecting sidewalks to the bus stops, because the bus stops are not useful if you cannot get to them. And finally, we want to continue investing in communities. Community Funding Area Program is one of the hallmarks of the Wake Transit Plan. It provides funds for eligible projects in 10 municipalities, Research Triangle Park. We have eligible project types include planning, operating capital projects. Apex Circulator, or Route 1, is funded through the CFA program. Currently, we have just under $20 million allocated through 2035 in our current model. With this transit plan update, we're looking to double that to $40 million over the next 10 years. We want to continue to invest in our outlying communities, continue to give them opportunities to operate and do transit investments. And so that's why we felt the need to double that investment. So the public engagement period actually ended January 31st. When I had to do this presentation, when I had to prepare this, as of January 30th, we had over 970 survey responses. We ended the public engagement period with over 1,000 survey responses. Roughly 51% male. We had around 53% folks who responded who rarely or never use transit. 13% represented minority race, and 5% represented had federal benefits. The more interesting piece is that chart on the right side of the screen there. We had, really what we saw was that we had broad agreement with focusing on the regional or intercity rail investment and focusing on BRT for that Raleigh to Durham connection. And the serving more people versus serving more places question, that kept going back and forth. But I think we ended up with serving more people just over 50%. So again, we will use these results and to craft the next 10-year investment strategy. And we will be coming back out in a couple months with that draft plan that'll hopefully reflect what we heard. Speaking of next steps, so as I mentioned before, we started back about a year ago, and we had engagement last spring, summer. We've worked on goals, priorities, strategic direction over the summer. We worked on our financial capacity and developed some scenarios this past fall. Just completed our second engagement phase, and coming up this spring, we'll be bringing out the recommendations in the draft Wake Transit Plan, have a final engagement study on that draft plan, and then begin moving that plan towards adoption process. So again, just to highlight what all the work that's going on right now, our community engagement phase ended January 31st. We had a partner staff workshop in January 30th and 31st to discuss some different policy questions, as well as some draft look at some information about the draft investment strategy. We'll have another one of these partner staff meetings in February to review the engagement findings and discuss recommendations that will go into the final draft plan. And then we'll have a stakeholder advisory committee meeting on March 5th, where we'll give the stakeholders, which is a group of about 60 to 70 folks throughout Wake County, an opportunity to really dive into the recommendations and provide some input. And then we'll have that draft Wake Transit Plan out by mid-March, with the engagement occurring on that in May. And then we'll finalize everything hopefully by the end of June and look for adoption this summer, early fall. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right. Thank you, Benjamin, for the update. And thanks for all the work you do at Campo. Really appreciate it. Look forward to the next steps. Any questions for
I have a couple.
I have a couple as well.
All right, I'll go first. We'll go down the line. Thank you, Mr. Howell, for the update and the focus that Wake Transit is putting on mass transportation. I think it's something that's sorely needed in this area, right? We can't travel tackle the traffic congestion problem without talking about mass transit as part of that solution. So that being said, throughout your presentation, a couple times you referred to the serving more people versus serving more places, and so I think the people's choice at the end was serve more people. But is there anything in terms of best practice or what we have learned or seen in other communities, places versus people? What kind of drives the adoption and ridership on public transit? Is it serving more people and basically look at centers of density, or making transit available in more places for people to be able to access it?
It's a little bit of both. I mean, what we have seen is that as we have increased the frequency on the existing bus routes, primarily in Raleigh and Cary, because they have the existing services, we've seen ridership in those areas increase. Raleigh right now has a number of routes that are well exceeding our performance standards and expectations, and are needing more and more investment because so many people are riding them. With that said, while it's important for us to continue to invest in that, we do, this is a Wake County transit plan, so we do want to continue to invest in the county services and throughout the county. One of the difficulties that just happens with that is that transit oftentimes needs density to operate well, and as a whole in Wake County, we are not super dense. Parts of Wake County are dense. And the other thing that we've really run into out in Wake County is that there's not one single employment center in Wake County. We have multiple employment centers. So whereas Charlotte and DC and some of these other places have one place that everyone's coming into, in Wake County, we have multiple places that people are coming into and going out of. And so it's very hard to build up a transit network. And again, we've only been at this for the Wake Transit Plan, we've only been at this for less than 10 years. So we'll continue to invest in both, and we do want to continue to see Apex and some of the outlying communities invest in transit. We're going to continue to work with all the transit partners to increase service to these areas. One of the things we do want to see, and that we've heard, I think, fairly clearly from the public, is the desire for more of these what we call town-to-town connections, where they don't have to go from Apex to Cary to then go back out to Raleigh or then go back out to Wake Forest, and instead have some of these direct connections. So we're working on that as well. I know it's not a direct answer, it's not a great answer, but that's what I can give you right now. I will say, just to set expectations, the Wake Transit Plan itself is what in the past we've termed it our vision plan. So it is high level. It'll lay out the big major investments, and it'll talk about bus service improvements, but it in and of itself is not going to come out and say, here's all the local bus services that'll be funded. We have our next step in the planning process that we do is what we call our bus plan. And that'll follow up immediately after this transit plan. And that's where we'll really start looking at the bus services particularly, and we'll have a pot of money that the transit plan will set aside for us. And we'll use that bus plan to determine how we're going to improve and increase and add services throughout the county on the bus standpoint.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Howell. I wanted to ask about the community funding areas. I've been had the privilege to be on the committee, and I've talked about this every time I can in the online surveys as well. And I think I said this in online. I think it's an indictment of the plan that only Apex and Morrisville have opted in so far with the implementation of transit in their local communities. And I think there needs to be a very close look at the community funding. I don't know why you're not tripling or quadrupling and just doubling in the plan. That I think Holly Springs and Fuquay and Garner and all these places will invest if it's a better deal. And it's it's not very dense, like you mentioned, so it's a hard sell. But I think more investment in those places and more of a matching will help them, will convince them that they need to invest themselves. And so I know Apex has run into the caps on this ourselves with the percentage, and we're getting more than our share. And I really hope a close look at that, because I see 700 million and I see 40 million, and those two things don't really match up to me, considering the population that we have in the community funding areas at this point, and expected to grow even more in the future. So I really hope we maybe even think bigger than 40 million and grander for those community funding areas, because I think it's one of the best investments we can make in the program.
And I agree. I mean, it is. I formerly worked in Morrisville and was worked a lot on the microtransit program there, trying to get that stood up. So I definitely understand how important it is. It's one of those things we want to put money into it, but at the same time we don't have a great track record so far, as you mentioned. To that point, I will say, we're still working through the final aspects of it, but it does look like we are looking at lowering the match and lowering that barrier of entry, both for new projects as well as existing projects. That probably won't come into effect until FY27. So just setting expectations again, but we are looking at lowering that match. And so I think it's one of those things, if we see more communities using the program and taking the funding, and we see that we're running out of funding, we can always add more funding into it too. The one thing we don't want to do is add a lot of funding into a program and set it aside and ignore other needs and have that money not being used.
I understand.
So, I mean, we have been extremely lucky, and hopefully we will remain lucky in that our sales tax revenue remains extremely high and extremely good and continues to beat expectations. So as long as that continues, then, we should be able to, we'll continue to make sure that the community funding area gets the money that it needs.
That's great. I just think as a commentary, I think that there's probably a perception out there that the community funding areas are putting in more than they're getting out of this program. And the way you avoid that is if you have the community seeing themselves in this program. So I think it's more valuable than necessarily the actual transit provided, is the buy-in that you'll get from communities. I think Apex has bigger buy-in because we have Route 1 and there's other buses nearby, that Holly Springs has nothing yet. And I think they will see that program differently once they get something on the ground, like a microtransit or whatever they do. And I think it adds more value to the whole program for a small amount of money than as far as the vision and support going forward when the community funding areas are well funded.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So you think it's about the money? You don't think it's about the priority set by the community?
I mean, I just think 80-20 match, you'll get us doing a couple more routes, and you'll get Holly Springs to do their own route or microtransit, and then you'll have so much bigger of an area covered when they do that. So I think that future, I think, is just going to be better for the whole program overall, even if it is a little more money involved.
Sounds good. Thank you for that perspective. Anyone else? All right, thanks again.
Thank you so much.
Well done. All right. Okay, it's time to hear from the community. We'll go ahead and open up public forum now. Just remember the 3 minute, unless you have 4 more people, you get 9. And there's the series of lights right there in front of you. So I'll go ahead and open it up now. Thank you, Ms. Clerk. Elizabeth Stitt, you're the first speaker. Please give your name and address before you present. Thank you.
Elizabeth Stitt, 3113 Friendship Road, Mayor, Town Council. Good evening. So I'm going to steal something that our Star Award teacher from Apex High shared. She said CORE stood for Community, Opportunity, Relationships, and Engagement. My kids went to Apex High, and I think we should take a lesson from Apex High. I think we need more opportunity for the community to actually engage. I don't agree, as I shared last time, getting rid of boards. I think before anything like that happens, the community should be asked, what do they want? And if you're not getting what you want out of the boards, well, did you give the boards direction as to what you want? But I don't think that happened. And so while we're talking about transportation tonight, I forward to town manager and the mayor, the city of Raleigh has been hosting a series of transportation open houses. and I'm on all the different listservs, and they've had a really interesting open house. Their survey, you should really go out and look at it. The survey, the questions they ask people about the transportation. So I would like to see Apex have more open houses where there can be discussions, not these work sessions where we can only listen in. And like tomorrow, I'm going to listen in. I don't know if you guys have ever watched any of those. I think there was a joke at a meeting, work session a couple of times ago about Marty Stone's head being in front of the camera. And the audio is not great. So I really would like to see more open houses where there can actually be engagement, not just where we're trying to listen and figure out, who's saying what. So if you could add that to the list, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Stead. All right, Phil Welch.
Evening, Mayor, council members, staff. My name is Phil Welch, and I live at 1471 Big Leaf Loop in Apex. During the last council meeting that I unfortunately missed, I was encouraged to hear Mayor Pro Tem Gray and council members Mahaffey and Zagerman question applicants about the minimal number of affordable homes offered in 2 rezoning applications. I especially appreciated Councilmember Mahaffey's suggestion that developers need to build different types of homes that would be offered at different price points. He said this might be possible by having different architectural conditions, such as smaller setbacks and smaller square footage. Excuse me. Literally different types to make them more affordable. As Terry said, this might make the inclusion of up to 15 to 20% of affordable homes feasible. To take this a step further, I believe Apex's mayor, council members, and staff need to focus on providing more housing choices for our low to moderate income residents and workers. The council's zoning powers must be used to bring about balanced growth, that is, favoring new developments that reflect an array of housing types and price points that meet the needs of people of all incomes, ages, and abilities. That last phrase came directly from Apex's original affordable housing plan. To realize this vision, Apex's decision makers must consider what specific populations may not be adequately served by our current inventory or our new developments. For example, seniors on limited incomes, essential workers, including town employees, healthcare support workers, construction workers, school teachers and staff, retail workers, and many others. Also single mothers and fathers, veterans, households with special needs, individuals, college graduates still living with their parents, and so forth. Then we would need a menu of different housing types which would address the needs of each of these populations with pricing to match. We would also need an analysis of Apex's housing inventory to identify what housing types need increasing or preserving. I imagine that most of you have probably heard the term missing middle housing. This refers to housing types that fall somewhere in between detached single-family homes and mid-rise apartment buildings. These include townhomes, which Apex has, plus duplexes, triplexes, courtyard clusters, and accessory dwelling units, or ADUs. Missing middle housing can help municipalities increase the availability of less expensive housing types and support vibrant, walkable neighborhoods while gently increasing density. These housing types are an important component of a diverse housing stock, contributing to more inclusive neighborhoods. Please continue to encourage more housing choices for our low to moderate income households. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Welch. Don Cozzolino.
Dawn Cozzolino, 3632 Bosco Road. So good evening, Town Council, Mayor. Can you guess what I'm going to talk about tonight? It's my favorite topic. But it's an important topic, traffic safety. Okay, so this is my old poster board. It's an oldie but a goodie. This is 5 years of the crash data. So I'm just going to show it to the audience. This is something I've worked on. And now I have an update. So if you look at the first handout, we have 5 months of new data. Now, new data is July to November. And basically, I hate to come up here and say bad news, but there's just more and more crashes. We don't have a way to mitigate that. So you're going to see on that data, in 5 months, we've had 12 accidents, 20 vehicles involved, estimated damage of 120,000 just about, and 4 injuries to humans. So not a good story at all. Okay, so that's roughly now an accident a month, almost 2 vehicles involved a month. Okay, so I want to point out that also in the data, because I find this very seriously flawed, that there was 1 accident on Hume Olive. It was 2 cars, 55 miles an hour each traveling, rear end, and it was cited as only $1,300. So there's something in the data, so just take note that is on the low end of the numbers. So that is not a good story. And if you go to the handout number 2, this is some pictures. I'm a very photo-oriented person. So this is the Holland assembly PUD. And what it's showing is a lot of tree clearing. And of course, those are mature trees and tree canopy. And we hate to see that in our neighborhood and our community. But I want to focus on traffic safety here, because there's more concerns with this traffic safety, because now we got construction vehicles coming in. So what do we got going on? We got dump trucks, which are Class 7 vehicles, heavy-duty Class 7 vehicles coming in, putting the dirt down for a temporary drive. Boom, the flatbed comes in with the backhoe. We got another Class 7, maybe a Class 9. And then they take away the trees, they load them up, and they take them out, and they haul them out. These are very large vehicles, and people are scurrying to get out of the way on an 11-foot wide road. So the good story, I'm going to skip to slide 4, is our Apex PD. They did a wonderful job a couple of days ago arresting those criminals. I applaud them. Can they help us out? Can they help us mitigate? Because you know what? This is really going to keep going on. We're going to have people getting hurt and people getting injured. And I think we can do something about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cozzolino. All right, as the last speaker for public forum, I want to thank everyone for coming out to speak tonight. It's important that we hear from you. We'll move now to unfinished business, rezoning case number 24CZ15, Green Level Towns PUD. Continue from the last council meeting, Lauren Stoggemeyer.
Hi everyone, how are you doing?
Good, how are you?
All right, before I begin, would you like me to go over a recap of the rezoning slides, or just about the proposed?
You said what?
I'd say no.
All right, y'all okay with just proceeding without the update?
Well, I'll provide an update of the proposed conditions, but I wasn't sure if you wanted a recap of the rezoning maps.
Just the update.
Okay.
Thank you.
Just wanted to double check just in case.
Right, we're on the clock here.
All right. All right, so as a friendly reminder, the housing staff's recommendation for this rezoning was based on the adopted 2021 Apex Affordable Housing Plan and the 2023 Affordable Housing Incentive Zoning Policy, with a recommendation of at least 5% of the residential units or lots to be designated as affordable or workforce housing. So since the last town council meeting, the applicant worked with the housing staff on a proposed affordable housing condition for a minimum of 5% of the total residential units on the property, and provided a condition for sale and for rents. So on this slide, the next 2 slides have the entire affordable housing condition for the for sale, but I did highlight where we might want to discuss is a minimum of 5% of no more than 135 AMI for a minimum of 20 years, and that is for the for sale affordable units. And then for the for rent affordable units, This slide and the next slide will go over the condition. As mentioned, I highlighted in yellow the parts that we want to pay attention to is the rezoning proposed a minimum of 5% of the rental units shall be occupied by a low-income household with earnings no more than 80% of the MSA for a period of 20 units, starting with the date that the first residential certificate of occupancy is issued. And those were the two updates with the proposed conditions for the affordable housing. With that, housing staff was okay with the recommendation, and planning staff supports the rezoning as with the new conditions.
Okay. Did the zoning specify the number that are going to be for rent versus for sale?
I can if potentially have the applicant come up as well, but it was for rent or had options for both, for rent or for
So it could be
sale.
all of one or the other. It's just those conditions apply to
Applied for
whatever
this
that
potential.
they end up building. Okay.
Correct.
Thank you, Laura.
Yes.
So is there any plan to actually do rental units, and who would, like, is that part of the proposal, or?
Mr. Carpenter.
For staff, I'm not aware of what the proposal is, but
That's more of a question for Mr. Carpenter, so.
Thank you, Laura.
Hey, good evening. Matthew Carpenter with Parker Poe, 301 Fayetteville Street, here on behalf of the applicant. The idea was to keep the optionality. We plan for them to be for sale units because the overall neighborhood will be for sale. But we did want flexibility that, at the time, if it made sense, demand-wise, and after discussing with staff later on when these are actually built in probably 3 or 4 years, we wanted to keep the ability to do rental units if it made more sense at the time. And so we have a different AMI for each of those categories based on the recommendation of the policy.
Thank you.
Mr. Carpenter, is there any update to the sidewalk gap that will be created or left unconnected in this area as for this neighborhood residents and the residents to the south that they want to walk to the high school?
Yep, there's not. Again, we did look at the recorded documents for the HOA because it would require acquisition of the HOA-owned common area. And that declaration of covenants prevents conveyance of HOA common area. And it would also be, I believe, over a 1/4 mile of an extension. I did visit the site, and it would also, I knew this already, but it would also require a stream crossing. And so it's just not something that's practical for this project.
Okay.
So,
Any other questions?
So how many units will actually be dedicated towards affordable housing?
It'll be 5%. So the plan now is for 32 units are the maximum allowed under the PUD. Obviously, we don't know until we get to subdivision plan exactly how many can be built. It'll depend on the topo, the RCA areas that are nailed down at subdivision plan, and so it could be 1 or 2 units depending on the final total number. But we wanted to use 5% because that's what the policy recommends.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Other questions? All right, hearing none, discussion time and lead to a possible motion.
I appreciate the applicant coming back to the table with to meet our goals that we have within our affordable housing plan. I think the next step that we're going to have as a council is whether or not our stated goal of 5% is going to be sufficient from here on out, but is going to meet our overall goals. But I appreciate that the applicant has come back to the table with the opportunity to provide some housing for some workforce and for teachers and other things. So I'm more than happy to support this time.
I agree. I appreciate the effort in going back and having that conversation and stating this as 5%, which is part of what our staff has been talking about, is exactly where we want to be. So thank you.
Thank you for that.
I know I railed against this a little bit last time. 135% of AMI is not affordable housing, right? And so, although I appreciate the applicant coming back and meeting the 5% condition, which is what we asked for, I don't want to keep moving the goalpost. But 135% AMI is just not going to make a dent in where we are looking to serve our population, right? 80% comes a lot closer, right? But in all honesty, these units are meant to be for sale units all, right? And so that kind of drives us into the 135% AMI category. So although, again, I don't want to keep moving the goalposts, and I do appreciate the applicant coming back with an altered proposal. I just want it to be known that I think we need to look long and hard at our guidance, for future development requests, right? And our policy to make sure that we are in fact meeting the needs of the population that we try to serve here. And again, I don't think that 135% AMI on a for sale unit is delivering on that goal. So I will support, in the recognition of the developer coming back, but I still have great concern about the effectiveness of our policy, and for this development and then developments going forward.
Any other discussion? None?
Motion to approve?
Motion to approve, Mayor Pro Tem. Second, Killingsworth. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, all opposed?
No.
Okay, motion carries 4-1. Thank y'all so much. All right, moving on now to new business 1. It's Taylor Ray. Public art, Keyhole Portal, and Doves of Peace sculpture purchases and relocation. All right.
All right. Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
Thank you. I come to you today representing the Apex Public Art Committee to recommend the purchase of Keyhole Portal and Doves of Peace. The Public Art Committee was approved to spend up to $20,000 specifically on purchasing artworks from the current sculpture walk. With that, they decided to propose to the council the purchase of 2 sculptures this year. Starting with Keyhole Portal, this sculpture was created by artist Bob Doster and was named Best in Show during the 24-25 Sculpture Walk. Keyhole Portal is a part of Doster's Portal series that he's been creating for over 20 years now. He goes on to say specifically about this piece, you walk in on one side, you're in the past, in the middle of it, you're in the present, and as you go through it to the other side, you're in the future. This piece was professionally appraised at $16,500, and the artist is interested in selling the sculpture to the town for $13,200. If approved for purchase, the Public Art Committee would like to relocate the sculpture near the depot building. This location was specifically chosen by the committee for its position in downtown, looking at our past, present, and our future. The second sculpture the Public Art Committee would like to propose for purchase is Doves of Peace by artist Timothy Werrall. Werrall's piece was named the People's Choice Award winner for the 24-25 Sculpture Walk. Werrall has designed and built sculptures for over 40 years. He describes Doves of Peace as a depiction of the feeling of upward and uplifting forms. He goes on to say, the wings are to be interpreted as doves, the age-old symbol of peace and tranquility, a world in which everything is all right. This piece was professionally appraised at $10,000, and the artist is interested in selling this sculpture to the town for $6,600. If approved for purchase, the Public Art Committee would like to relocate the sculpture near the police station on Saunders Street. This location was specifically chosen as a tribute to peace and togetherness. Thank you for your time and consideration this evening.
All right. Well done. Thank you so much. I love it.
Mr. Ray, I had a question about the location, how you're picking these, and specifically, is the committee limiting the possible locations to just the downtown area, or are they looking at that public art map and the easements we have already and looking at the whole town? Because I think it's great, the choices here, but I think there are places that at least people might drive by that may get more people driving by than maybe walking somewhere where they see these things. So is it the whole town we're looking at?
Yes, the
Okay,
Public
good.
Art Committee does review the whole town and does look at the public art map when they're
Yeah.
choosing these
great,
locations.
great.
They picked these two specific places specifically because of the representation of what
Okay.
the art does. And, you know, with Keyhole Portal being the past, present, and future, we thought by the depot would be the best option. And then in front of the police station off of Saunders Street with the peace piece, if you will, a good representation of tranquility and togetherness.
Yeah, I love that. I just want to make
Sure.
sure that we're looking at the whole town.
Absolutely.
Because we have a good problem, I think, of starting to get an accumulation of sculptures in the downtown area. And people are walking through there a lot more than they are other places. But I think driving by sculptures is also meaningful for people, even if it's kind of a quicker view. So just make sure we're looking at the whole town.
Absolutely.
Okay, great.
All right, other questions? Or
No questions.
comments?
Good choices.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's get them.
Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Segment.
Second.
Yeah. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you so much, Taylor.
Thank you.
All right. Hey, that's it. We're done. Y'all want to hang out a little bit more?
Yeah, let's do it.
We got 8 hours tomorrow and the next
We got
day.
8 hours tomorrow. We got our retreat.
each other tomorrow.
You guys are welcome to come out to our retreat tomorrow, 8:30 kickoff. Hang out in the room and hear what's being discussed. So we're good.
Or watch us on YouTube.
Watch it on YouTube. All right. Hearing no business. Meeting's adjourned. Cans being kicked.